Hey, what's up everybody? We are back with another Vincent Drugstore display unboxing. And before we kick it off, I want to revisit one of the earlier videos in this series where I unboxed a couple of die cuts that are seen in the Vincent Drugstore. And I ended up buying some lots to try to get those. And one of the ones in there was this guy here. I think I mentioned in that video that I intended to put this up on display or whatever. Just because it's kind of a cool classic Halloween style die cut. And I was watching something this morning about the Haunted Mask episode of Goosebumps, and you can see I got my Haunted Mask up there, and realized that this is in that as well. So this may actually go live with them up there, because now I've got something else to screen match it to. I know this is a very common decoration. It's probably in a billion things, but it's kind of cool to find that this has another home or another place that it could belong in my collection. But back onto the topic of this video, another unboxing. And this is probably going to be the first of two shot over multiple days because I have another box coming that is kind of related. So we'll dig into this one first and we shall get into it. And speaking of the die cut, that actually kind of fits too because this is another thing where I had to buy some lots. This and the one following this. I had to buy more than one item to be able to include it, or to get the thing that I wanted. I'm sure I probably could have asked the seller if they could split up what was in here, but I didn't really want to bug them. The price was fine, so I figured just go for it. Usually I try to tease out the item that I really want out of the box because that's the point. But seeing everything else kind of plays into what this is, and I don't know, I just don't see it being particularly interesting to dig through the other crap. Because honestly, it's not really anything important. So, we'll pick up the first item. I know this is the thing that I'm after, so that's not a big surprise. And there we go. We have a skull candle. So, this is as near as I can match the one that you see in Vincent Drug when they're doing the initial pan over everything. There's the mask or display or whatever that has like the hands coming through the face. And this is on that shelf with all that. I believe this looks to be right. Everything I can match up looks right. Like, it doesn't really have defined teeth. It's just kind of like a black blob in the middle there. The only thing I could see that was throwing me off is that you can see the blood splatter coming down. And the one on the movie is much thinner than this. This looks to be a little heavier, but I found another collector who's doing a similar thing to me, and they were using what appears to be this candle, so I'm going to call this good enough for now, unless I find something more accurate. This looks right enough. No real brand on here. There's the markings at the bottom. Doesn't really have a manufacturer or anything that I could see. So that is that guy. So as I mentioned, I had to buy some other candles to get that. So I've got some things I really don't care about at all. I've got a cow with a jack-o'-lantern on it. A couple little candle holder skulls. It's actually kind of cool. Haunted house candle holder, I guess. I know these are candles, but do they have to smell like cigarette smoke? Jack-o'-lantern kind of candle holder. And second skull candle. So at least I do have a backup. So I can kind of pick between the two and decide which one I want most to be on display. They look pretty similar in terms of their blood splatter, but I'll give them a closer look in a little bit. But yeah, that was it for this box. Nothing too crazy. A lot of stuff I don't care about that I'll figure something to do with, but I got my skull candle. I'm still looking for the freaking pumpkin candle. I have not seen any sign of that. I don't know if there's any additional information I could be searching for. At this point, I'm just searching every so often for a vintage Halloween candle, and yet to find it. So if anybody has any leads on the jack-o'-lantern candle that pairs with this one, please let me know. Alright, we are back with part 2 of this unboxing, so not going to waste any time here. We'll crack right into it. This is yet another lot that I bought off eBay. So, once again, got some stuff that I don't care about, but does have one thing I do care about in it. So, we will dig that out of here. Alright, pop this thing open. It's in a box, but then in a bag. Okay. All right. So, I'm just going to pull random things out of the bag. So we've got a big rubber tarantula, and it probably tells you what it is out of this that I'm looking to get. Does it squeak? It does not squeak. It just breathes air. We've got a little random bug. It's kind of an odd little piece there. Does not want to focus on. There we go. We've got another rubber spider. This one's very rubbery. So that should mean the last one in here is the thing I've been waiting for. Oh wow, this is tiny. This is way tinier than I thought it was. But that doesn't mean it's not what I'm looking for. So we have this tiny ass little rubber spider. And looking at the details of this online, it looked to match up with the one in Vincent Drug. If you remember from the unboxing of the first one I got, this was listed on a website as having been the one in Halloween 4, but it was just from them like searching and trying to find ones that looked similar to the one in the film. And they basically looked for one that was hairy, it had some kind of dangling mechanism from it, and had yellow spots, but the details on this don't match up with the film. This one, however, is closer. The eyes look like they're more just red in the film, but we have the yellow spots that you can see on the body. The legs are still hairy. These are really kind of just all messed up on it. The details on the jaws look to be correct. It has kind of like a little nose under the eyes, the two mandibles on the side and the two in the middle. It has the two body segments like the one in the movie does. And you can see the string here is attached to it. So it did have like a dangling mechanism to it. So the problem with the movie is that there's not a lot of size reference in that scene. So we could assume we have the right candle. We could assume we have the right other bits of things. So I guess kind of comparative wise, if we held up the Living Nightmare, now this is not the perfect correct Living Nightmare card, but they all seem to be about this size. So that kind of sat here on the skull. So that kind of matches up with what I'm looking at the screen behind my camera here, showing the scene from the movie. So size-wise, this looks like it matches up pretty well with our skull. And then looking at the picture, it looks like the head of the spider is roughly the size of the eye of the skull, which does appear to basically be the case here. So I think that is actually the right size. It looks really tiny, but when you match it up with the actual candle, it's not as bad. I think if I maybe could try to mold these legs a little better, maybe heat them up a little bit and try to straighten them back out so it looks a little more like the movie, it will look better. Obviously, you can tell I'm having some doubts that I found the right item. There's no identifying thing on the spider, it just says made in China on its ass. But from what I could see in the film, I think this is pretty close. And like I said, you could see it is massively different in size to the one that the Dinosaur Dracula site listed. So it is definitely a major difference here between the two. Which is kind of funny because, putting this one on top, that looks more like something you would do. It kind of sits there more on its own. And this little guy, they must have had him dangling on the wick of the candle or something. I don't know how they had him sticking like that. Maybe they literally stuck it to the candle. I may use some blue tack or something and stick him on there because he doesn't really want to stay on his own. But I do think that's it. So I think that's about as close as I'm going to get to the movie for right now. If I find something else that's more accurate, obviously I'll update it later, but I think I'm pretty close there. So here's our little candle chilling between the masks on the upper row here. It's so weird looking at this thing because looking at the screenshots from the movie, I assumed it was so much bigger. And you can see from what I was doing before, I think it lines up with the Living Nightmare makeup set in terms of size for the skull and the spider. But it just looks so tiny in person, and it's just kind of funny. It's weird how, with no real context in a movie, something could look completely different than it does once you have it in hand. But I am pretty confident I've got the real parts here, or at least pretty darn close to it. So if we zoom out here, you can see the actual masks. It's a little tiny bit there. I don't know if he's going to sit between those masks forever. That's kind of the place that seems right for it. But I also kind of want to put the gloves up. Maybe the gloves will go to the left of the Tor Johnson. I'm not entirely sure. But we'll figure that out when it comes to it. The further I go with this thing, I'm getting to that point now where things are getting harder and harder to find. And I'm starting to actually catch up with getting these videos posted at the time of putting this out. So I don't know how much more it's going to be before there's large gaps in between episodes of this. But I mean, the whole point is progress, right? We're getting there slowly but surely. So stay tuned for the next one. I'm not exactly sure what it'll be at this point, but I'll find something. We all know there's plenty more, and you never know when something's going to pop up on some random website. See you guys later.